Well, boys, gals, and bays, and everybody else watching, I reckon this is it. Political combat, going toe to toe with the internet. Now, I ain't much of a hand at making speeches, but, well, I reckon you probably got some pretty strong feelings about political combat, and, well, given how many friendships have born, live or die in this, well, perhaps it might be surprising if y'all didn't. But, well, I just got one thing to say. Say that the folks on social medias are counting on us. And if this is as important, or half as important as I think it's gonna be, well, on stuff like Twitter and Reddit, it's gonna be massive. And yeah, there definitely is some kind of citation, because you get a certificate saying which one you landed on when you finish this political compass test. More important, let's get this thing on the hump. We got some flying to do. I am the president of the United Eds. You'd think I'd know. Yeah, you'd think that I'd know if I sent an order to launch a political compass test right at the Soviet Union. What? What do you mean there's a retaliatory strike mechanism? You mean in case the Soviet Union fires up the politics first? I gotta sort this out. I'm heading to the war room. Cultural war room, you know what I mean. Better get there. Better work out what's going on. I didn't send the order. I don't even like the political compass test. You know, it's grossly overcomplicating the issue, because political allegiance is based around class. You know, find your class, find where you stand on the political spectrum. It's not that difficult. I didn't send the order either. Everybody knows politics is a simple discussion. There's no two axes about it. It's merely the struggle between man's drive and society keeping his sinful nature restrained. His drive can create positive things like capitalism, the market and stuff, but that's why he needs morality and his nation to keep him restrained and steadied, else he will lapse into debauchery. Look, guys. Anyway, I got a new hat. Yeah, the old one doesn't really fit properly, and the fedora hadn't arrived yet. Anyway, more to the point. I didn't send the order. Everyone knows the political compass test is a load of rubbish. You know, if this wasn't YouTube, I'd say something worse. Point is, everyone's an individual, and if it weren't for all these private interests and special interests, that's all it is. People make decisions to get what they want. Well, don't look at me. I didn't send the order either. Political compass test is just too simplified. There are so many experiences and, you know, minorities, majorities, these various dynamics about gender, sexuality, ethnicity, body type, you name it. How can you condense politics down to a binary axis or plot it on some 2D chart? It just really does not work. You guys are just intolerant. You guys are ignorant. You guys are impractical. It's just that you guys are immoral. Ed, you can't guilt trip people in here. This is the culture war room. Anyway, we got some people coming. The Edviat ambassador will be here shortly. I can confirm there are no political incursions heading in from the Edviat Union. I've been authorized to help you. Assist in finding out who sent the order. We do not want a political escalation any more than you guys do. But what even is the political compass? Well, basically, Mr. President, it starts out on two axes. There's the left and the right, which is more about economics than anything else, and focuses on this point, the economy. So, more public goods, more public ownership, more public services. The more to the left, more decisions in the marketplace done by the individual, more to the right. Then there's the up-down axis. The more authoritarian means the more the state controls things, decision-making specifically. The more libertarian, the more grassroots. The truth. You see, that quadrant wants the state to do everything but wipe your beep. And even then, they'll tell you how much toilet paper you can use. That quadrant wants the state to be able to kick your beep if it ain't the right colour. That one wants to get rid of all electricity except the stuff generated by your beep. And that one wants to be able to pay someone so that they can beep them right in the beep and not have to have the common courtesy to give them a beep beep. Who bleeps my swears? What? Ugh, this is the YouTube version. Okay. I just wish Ed would set up the OnlyFans so that I can swear in these films. I think what the General's trying to say, Mr. President, is that most of these ideologies have become memes these days. You know, they're not so much serious. Often they're presented in an exaggerated, overblown caricature of the ideals they represent, rather than actual political ideologies that you can take seriously. Okay, I understand. Though we still got the question of where's the signal coming from. Gotta find someone to take him down. You rang, Mr. President? I'm Ed, from the timeline where Britain remained Catholic and the Soviet Union still exists for some reason. I've selected an elite squad of Eds. We're going to hunt down the signal and find whoever's causing it and get them to stop so we can put an end to this madness. Different Eds from different timelines, all of which from where the culture war never happened, for added security and insulation, just in case they're trying to emit some kind of background energy at us. But we're prepared. Let's go do this.
Will our heroes find out who is behind the launching of a political compass test? And what will the political compass test hold for our heroes? What will the fallout of this be? Find out in Phase 2 of The Political Compass, or How I Stopped Worrying and Learned to Love the Memes. If you liked what you saw, why not check out the rest of the channel? Link in the description below. And if you want to support this channel, why not buy a book or a song from Ed's shop? link in the description, or go to www.edsmadlibs.co.uk. That's www.edsmadlibs.co.uk. I hope you're having a very fantastic and happy day, and wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I thank you for watching, and it was lovely having you here.
Okay. Comrades, one of our Edviat satellites has picked up a communication. This will probably be important to you in finding the source of the signal that sent out the order for the political compass to be launched. Just patching it through to you now.
Come in. Any and all frequencies, come in. This is Flight Commander Ed Drake of the United Kingdom Air Force. My position has come under attack by unknown forces.
Okay, found the source of the original signal. They're bouncing it off the Edviat satellite, and it seems to be at one of the observation posts in West Edmoney. Surely the world of Ed is a bit more imaginative with naming places. That as may be, but we've got a mission, and right now the world of Ed needs us. So, got the location, let's move out! Mr. President. At ease, General. Though, what you been working on? Okay, we're engaging with the political compass. You're going to be asked a heck of a lot of questions. And it's divided up into 6 pages. And you gotta say whether you strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. One page concerning the country and the world. One page on economical attitudes. One page on personal social values. One page on wider society. One page on religion. One page on sex. Heck, if I could have quite an interesting weekend in Vegas with all that. Oh, well, you see, I was just working on a little idea of my own. I mean, Ed's good. Eds will probably find who sent the signal, and hey, Ed knows what Ed's doing. Navigated a political compass test so many times before, and well, with such a sort of, having crossed the political spectrum so many times to try and make friends, Ed could probably find the politics of chickens in the barnyard. And so I was just working on a test of my own. Look. May I have a look? Sure thing, Mr. President. Okay, General. Yeah, which of these is your favorite of the 7 deadly sins? I mean, you're not really meant to have... Anyway, pride, greed, vanity, envy. I mean, it's...
kind of esoteric, but well, that could also be said for the political compass test on quite a few of the questions. So, why did the Axis lose World War II? Stalin based, freedom rings, racism cringe, Wehrmacht ignored. Yeah, really, it's kind of simplistic, and don't really answer the question, but see how you did with other things. Okay, what is your favorite? Okay, General. Yeah. Crying to the moderator, using slurs as jokes. At least you put jokes in quote marks. Thirst trap selfies and name dropping dead Germans. These are very much stereotypes. And yeah. Okay, who do you simp for? General, this is not helping anybody. And that doesn't even mean anything. Who do you simp for? It's not even meaningful political discourse if you're gonna use stuff like simp. Ugh. And I'm glad that Honey Mary isn't here to see that question about women. Seriously, General. I mean, this does not seem like a very good way of dealing with politics, just reducing everything down to crude stereotypes. I'm sorry, Mr. President. I mean, most of the politics I know is more about boo this guy, hate that guy, yay this guy, love that guy, you know. It'd be like some figure you could gather around and almost like football or something. You know, my team. It don't need to be too hard on yourself, General. A lot of people don't understand politics. Quite a lot of the people who are in it don't either. But, well, that's just the point, really. Where you stand on all sorts of things can be complicated. I mean, back in the day it weren't so complicated, I guess. No, but that was always particularly good. I mean, back then they had something called feudalism. We probably consider it authoritarian right these days. But that didn't exist at the time. There wasn't really anything for it to be right of or left of, as it so happened. Now, in that, a particular family would rule, and everyone else would give part of their production to them, or something like that, in order to get protection. But, over time, this started to change. You know, people who traded and such. And others just wanted something more. Less, you know, less tied to a single fealty. And so, after a while, various fealties of different families coalesced around rulers who eventually got more powerful than those ruling families and started to replace them in what's called a nation-state, which would eventually lead to the age of absolutism and the rest of the alt-right coming together, unifying people around single cult, around perhaps a religious identity, or what eventually culminating in following the word of one leader, while on the other side, perhaps you get more about a national community. Be it a civic nationalist, unit that's perhaps more about specific culture and that outside people can embrace it, or more ethno-nationalism, where basically the difference is, can you convert into it or can't you? Ethno-nationalism, you can't. And you see, all that sort of build up, so you'd get what we now have the authoritarian right square. You know, it's not just Nazis. And where everyone's positioned in it, that's something people debate. But point is, after a while, you started getting merchants. A sort of middle class. They didn't own land, but they didn't have to spend over a day's work in the land either. And so they got a bit tired of all these people telling them what to do all the time, all these ruling authorities, and so they wanted to have a bit of the pie themselves. They wanted to be able to share in the franchise. And from there, you start getting that more sort of like, no, more decisions should be made by the individual. Or local communities perhaps, but we'll focus on the individual for now. And so you start getting this sort of, what we'd now call the libertarian right. Right, as people wanted more stuff decided by free markets, or individual preference, as it were. And of course, you have other changes as well. Because after a few centuries of the free market developing, well, we got to see that it may have some problems here and there. Then there are questions, people feeling like, perhaps the government should intervene in the economy. Some people feeling that perhaps there should be more public goods, more public services, education, healthcare. Others thinking even further, such as government-run industries, maybe transport infrastructure, such as trains or buses. Or perhaps even state-owned industries. And thus you'll start getting more left-wing distinctions in the economy, as some think it should still be with the private sector, while others believe that no, the state should have more say and influence in how the economy works. Not to mention, of course, the fact that there's also, within left-wing spaces, perhaps some social distinctions. After all, just because you believe in public ownership, also, you might think that perhaps there should be public ownership to encourage more civil liberties or less rigid social planning. And a society perhaps where, for example, minorities are listened to more, and there's more embracing of the diverse communities, which in societies that focused mostly on central planning were somewhat lacking at times. And so there were people who wanted to do something about that. And to promote general welfare. And that while welfare should be promoted, it should also be community-centred and from the ground up, rather than a top-down decision by a possibly distant state. Hence, you have the libertarian left. But of course, General, it's important that you're thinking about all these things, understanding what's going on in the world and how you think and feel about them, and what values you have and how you intend to put them into place in the world.
Who shot Ed Drake? Will the Eds be able to save them? What about the signal and the political compass test? How will that turn out? Find out on the next and final exciting installment of The Political Compass, or how I stopped worrying and learnt to love the memes. If you like what you saw just now, why not like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Edspace YouTube channel, or check out the shop, link in the description, or go to www.edsmadlibs.co.uk. That's www.edsmadlibs.co.uk. But either way, thank you for watching, and it was lovely having you here.
All ready to go. Yep, confirmed. We are in position. All ready and raring to go. Each one of us prepared with our specialist equipment.
One with a Tommy gun. One with a stick. And one... Excuse me a moment, I'll have to go sort this out.
I've told you before, that's not where you should keep your hand grenade.
Alright. Heading on to target. Load meme sequence.
Why? Why must you do all these things?
Well, it's simply an incentive structure. I pit the different groups against each other, so they can't come for me. And so that the wealth distribution I represent remains unthreatened, save for the prospect of growing ever wider in the gap of wealth disparity. Man fears woman, woman fears man, cis fear trans, trans fear cis, straight fear gay, gay fear straight, black fear white, white fear black. All perfect arrangement. The haves and the have-nots are subdivided into have a little property, the new opiate of the people. What little you all have, suddenly anything that differs from the model becomes a threat. So, all those little jihads out there, as I like to call them, little tribal loyalties, if you like, they're all fighting each other and they're not fighting me. Not dealing with the disparities in their societies, and ed space is going to be a part of that. Because I have right here the results of Ed's political compass test. And if Ed doesn't ever want this result to be known, Ed will do as I say. Ed will make content based on consumption and paranoia. Yes. Because that's what people are. Paranoid little rats scrabbling around in the darkness. Never. Always. Worked so hard on them and all. Isolating them. Breaking them apart. Breaking down any kind of bonds. Pitting them against each other. Lying about what each one means for the other. Simple, really, when you can force people apart, use misinformation, take advantage of good-natured people. A clash of ignorance, if you will. And the human race carries on in their pitiful squabbles, while wealth grows and money flows. It's not ideological, it's just a reality that we... No! People are much better than you think. People want to love and live and bring kindness to the world. People want to live their lives and care for each other. There is community out there, and a common cause, because, as you said with that thing about transphere cis and cisphere trans, it doesn't have to be that way. Everyone can love everyone. And more importantly, one place where we break down these barriers between each other helps against others as well. So men and women can be closer together, not so driven by your so-called biological realities about sex and status, but actually live together as human beings. This is about community, the coming together of all peoples, because ultimately people want to be happy and people care about one another. And one thing history has ever shown is that humans are good at heart. Yes, a lot of institutions might bring the worst out of people, but the more everyone's alienated, the worse that gets. We have it in our hearts to reach out to other people, not be fearful of those who are not like us, because ultimately there are a lot more like us than you think, and a lot more caring and kind, and you might think there's all sorts of goodness in the world. You just have to look around you, and you'll find kindness and compassion. After all, let's face it, if you've got a warm hearth, a roof over your head, a full belly and someone who loves you, what more could you want out of life? Sadly, so many people don't have that. I just want to say that we can come together and work on these problems. It doesn't have to be all against all in a savage, brutish and short idea that you seem to believe in. We are better people.
we can reach out and find each other's peoplehood and build upon that, we can make things far better.
You cannot defy economic reality.
Shrug this, Atlas.
I will be returning.
Take some of this with you. Something from me.
Let's see what all this was about. Oh. We happy. Although I'd probably best turn the screen around now, lest we get a copyright claim from the makers of Pulp Fiction. Sorry, my leg's a bit off. Getting shot in the kneecap is, arrow in the knee's bad enough, and a bullet in the knee. So a bullet in the knee's not exactly going to be much of a picnic either. So, now Ed's got the signal and must have realised that something was up. So never actually showed filling in the quiz. Merely showing you what each page was about. I have to say that was ruddy clever. Yes. And of course, it's not even a particularly exciting score, as it were. I mean, the lib-left corner seems to be a pretty common one, and arguably the political compass test will naturally gravitate someone towards that. I think TLDR News did a piece on that. Either way, well, it doesn't really matter much. I mean, it's a fun way of getting people to talk about political issues, and well, it may not be the most accurate or comprehensive politics test, but it's a good start, and well, quite a lot of stuff to think about, but I'm sure
That was The Political Compass, or How I Stopped Worrying and Learnt to Love the Memes. If you liked what you just saw, why not drop a meme bomb on that like button, comment if you wish, share, subscribe, or check out the Edspace store at www.edsmadlibs.co.uk, or follow the link in the description. If you liked Ed's sense of humour here, you might like the books Ed writes. But either way, I thank you for watching, and it was lovely having you here.